The Ascott Group was actually formed during the year that I joined, in the year 2000. It was a merger between Somerset Holdings and the Ascott Limited. It was actually a significant milestone for us. We brought together two strong brands to kind of create a leading player in the service residence industry. The leadership then was Mr. Lim Chin Beng, who is our chairman, Mr. Liu Man Leong, who was our deputy chairman, Mr. Kee Teck Koon, who was the first CEO in Ascott. And together they actually played a critical role in the company's trajectory. Under their guidance, Ascott actually became part of the CapitaLand family. The story of Ascott actually started 40 years ago. The first Ascott on Scotts Road opened its doors in 1984. Mr. Amiri Jemaboy, he was a visionary. He pioneered the first Asia-Pacific international class service apartment in Singapore. The iconic two-horse crest logo was actually created by Mr. Jemaboy himself. The name Ascott was inspired by the prestigious race course that is well known for hosting all the world-renowned horse races. His innovative concept of combining the long-stay residence with the services of a hotel was revolutionizing the industry. Ascott Scots was our first, and most of us started there. We actually were at almost full occupancy all the time, and we knew all the guests like they were family. There were a lot of memories, friendships, and guests that has been with us for many, many years. Yeah, so it was quite sad when they tore it down. I think it's because Ascott is homegrown. We started from Singapore, so Singapore is a very important market to everyone in the company. Actually, all the CEOs, they had a vision, and they definitely wanted us to all collectively come together to build the company. For me, it's been an amazing journey. My career has been filled with a lot of friendships, interesting relationships with guests, and the various leaders that I've had has always been super supportive. I always tell people who are looking for a job that I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but Ascott because of the leadership.
I think one of the most significant years for me was, of course, 2002, when we happened to know that the Citadine brands was going to be acquired by the Ascott Group. So during that time, I think the CEO of the group was Kee Teck Koon. We didn't know him, we didn't know the group, and there were a lot of uncertainties and kind of a fear as well of what was going to happen with our brand. Of course, the following 2 years, where we had a lot of contact with the Ascott team on the ground at group level, were quite interesting for us because we get to know each other much better. I think at that time Ascott was very Asian-centric, Citadine was very Europe-centric, so by combining both brands, the group really enabled to have a global presence, which again enabled to expand its customer base altogether. And we were very kind of happy and relieved to see that the brand was going to be maintained to start with, and above all to be expanded. And for us the big milestone was to see that our brands, our Citadine brands, was going to be opened in China, in Shanghai, I think, under the leadership of Mr. Cameron Ong. 2 years after, the 50% stake left over were acquired. That was under the leadership of Eugene Lai. Then 100% of the Citadines become part of the Ascott Group, and then we could see a lot of synergy coming up between the two brands, and we really felt starting to feel more kind of belonging to the Ascott Group. The Citadines brand is very close to my heart. I'm very proud to work for Ascott, but I would say I'm even prouder to come from Citadines, and this sense of accomplishment to see that the Citadines brand has been has been developed so well, and nowadays it's the fastest growing brand within the group, which is fantastic. You know, for me, it's been a long journey, but I don't feel it like this. It's been more than 25 years. But what I like above all about the group is the fact that there's always new challenges, and there's opportunities also, and then you grow together. And I'm very particularly proud to have grown within the group.
It was the world's first Pan-Asian REIT exclusively focused on service residents. Mr. Chong Ki-Hyong, he was the first CEO of ART, and the founding chairman of ART then was Mr. Lim Jik-po. ART, it was the third REIT that was set up in CapitaLand, and being the first hospitality REIT in Singapore, I think it was really very strategic, very bold and very visionary at that time. So 4 years after the listing of ART in 2010, and Mr. Lim Ming Yen was the CEO of Ascott then, and another transformative transaction took place for ART. It was very exciting because it was ART's first acquisition in Europe. I think in CapitaLand and Ascott, we never do business as usual. We are always looking at ways to do things better. You know, we have to do things like quickly, right? So I remember that meeting very vividly. It was very intense. It arises because of the merger between CapitaLand and Ascott Singapore, and arising from that merger, we had two hospitality trusts under the same umbrella, which is ART as well as Ascott Hospitality Trust. So we had to integrate the two trusts, and at that time, Mr. Bob Tan was the chairman of ART. I was the CEO then, and together with Kevin Goh, who is the CEO of Ascott, and Chikun was the CEO of CLI, being the sponsor, we are looking at ways to see how best to integrate the two hospitality trusts. In fact, it was like 3 days after the completion of CapitaLand and Ascott Singapore merger that we announced the merger between ART and AHT. That was like, you know, the speed was unknown. You know, we achieved something that has never been done before. And now you look back, the deal was completed in 2019, and 2020 we enter into COVID. If we have not done the deal as quickly as we did, the leaders, the boards were not working together to resolve this, you know, at the speed that we are doing, we would have never done this merger. With the enlarged portfolio, we could still do a lot of things during COVID when the other hospitality REITs couldn't. I really appreciate and value the relationship between CLAS as well as Ascott. It demonstrates our ability to invest, to asset manage, to develop, and then to operate hospitality product, the whole ecosystem within Ascott. When I meet in owners now, I'm really very proud to share with them this whole ecosystems that we have, because it is very strong. I don't think any other hospitality player have what we have today. It's very amazing and powerful for Ascott's journey to be an important player and in a hospitality asset-light operations, as well as fulfilling our vision to be a very key player in the hospitality sector.
Ascott needs to grow. We are still subscale at that point in time, and Chikun recognizes that if we don't grow, we can't survive, and we just need to share the pie with somebody else, and we can't grow. I mean, we'll still always need that source of third-party capital for investment, because after all, we are part of a real estate group. There was the Ascott QIA fund set up in 2014-15. But it took us a lot of time because relatively speaking, it was kind of a little bit new. It's a novel idea because there's a lot of trade-offs. And we also need our colleagues in different countries to kind of buy in. And I must say, without the Chikun's sponsorship and in fact encouraging to explore something concrete with the likes of these partners, it'll be very difficult. Because it requires some sense of redrawing some of the process in the company. at that point in time, obviously smaller than what it is now. So we needed inorganic M&A to leapfrog our growth. We wanted a certain size, of course, right? Something that could swing the needle. And we chanced upon Synergy Global Housing because they were actually an existing marketing partner. We liked the US tech story. They liked the Asian engine of growth. We looked at Taoxia. And at that time, the founders were open to see what they can do with a partner coming in to help them grow in Southeast Asia because they were primarily in Indonesia. We wanted a team, a management team or platform where it has its own somewhat proprietary business model. That's how, in a way, we chanced upon Quest. But the problem is, at that time for us, the dilemma is Ascott actually lost money in Australia. So on the back of that, we're kind of haunted by that history of Australia. So that was the big hurdle to even bring up Australia, go and buy a company. In fact, I wanted to drop the deal. Chee Koon wanted to do. So Chee Koon does give the courage to revisit whatever past practice. So in that aspect, I really respect him for that, to always be willing to take a step back and think through issues on a first principle basis. So I appreciate that very much. If without that, it's sometimes quite difficult for the team to even charge forward. If we had not taken those risks, whatever that we have today that's connected to those deals, would not be there. We could fall behind our competitors because those companies may be acquired by someone else, or those companies might have a different path going forward.
I think I've seen an amazing transformation with Ascott over the last 16 years. When I joined, we were very heavy in terms of real estate and looking in the financial aspect. But as I've seen throughout the years, we've really transitioned more and more into a hospitality-based company. A lot more focus on customer service, a lot of focus on people, both internal and external. So I think at the time when I just joined, it was Jenny Chua. She was the CEO at the time, and we went through a privatization of the Ascott, which really allowed Ascott to start its growth platform, tapping onto the ecosystem of the already strong CapitaLand. She really took the time to engage with everyone. Nobody was off limits. She was interested in people. And I think that's where the development of ACE, which is the Ascott Global Training Center that was introduced in Singapore, really as a priority to engage and enhance our customer-centric elevation amongst the group. So when I look in terms of leadership with the brand change, obviously Kevin Goh as CEO has driven this component. As Ascott aspires to be a global leader in the lodging industry, to accentuate the guest experience through brand development is going to be key, and allowing us to tap into other segments of the hospitality realm. We are now a bit more of a hybrid element there, where we are attracting not just the corporate but leisure markets as well. Into the short stay segment, we are operating, of course, in the F&B area too. I think the other element as well is with our global and regional brands that allows us now to connect with new customers and build loyalty across the board through our brands with more customers. Ascott 40 years is an amazing achievement. There has been a real clear vision from leadership right throughout from when I've started to this very day in terms of where they want to take Ascott moving forward. It's really taken on such a major transformation that I think when I look at it, the reason why I'm still with Ascott is obviously because it continues to evolve and the learning components are always there. And I think the plane has taken off and now we're flying through the air, and it's only a matter of time for us to be the #1 spot globally.
The business model has changed very much for the Ascott. We started off as predominantly a real estate owner. We invest, we trade in real estate. Over the years, we have moved from a very asset-heavy model to a more asset-light model. We used to own about 85% of the real estate that we manage. Today, we own maybe only about 15% of it, but going asset-light is a very tedious process because that challenged us at every level in the organization, whether it is infrastructure, mindsets, as well as the whole ecosystem that we deal with. We used to have owners coming to us, asking us to manage their properties, and our very initial mindset was, why do I want to add value to other people's property? And we actually reject those opportunities. But over the years, we find that just managing our own properties is not enough. We need to have the economies of scale, and that's when we started going out to third-party owners saying that, we have brands, we have good brands, we've got a good team. We used to only have 20 properties in year 2000. Today we have about 165,000 keys. That's close to 1,000 properties in 2024. So in the span of 24 years, we've grown multiple times. We managed to scale up, and we managed to build the capabilities and infrastructure for ourselves. When we started this journey, we had a lot of questions, both internally and externally. Many people ask us, what right do we have to play in this field when you have established owners that has been in this line for 50, 100 years? I would say at the end of the day, it's really the team. It comes down to having good people, believing in a purpose, in a vision, in a mission. We never thought that the Ascott business or lodging business is about one person or one department. During COVID, everything is 2020 on hindsight. But if you look at the challenges that we faced, there were the early days whereby there was no vaccine. We weren't sure what was happening or what was going to happen. But the good thing is that the team actually kept together. We stayed in close contact even though we couldn't come together physically. I think at the end of the day, we're just very proud of what we do, and we find strength in each other. That environment actually creates a very encouraging support for everyone, and it pulls you out to say, you must do more, you must do your part. And at the end of the day, when everybody does that, no matter how big that difficulty will come through. We've seen financial crises, pandemics, environmental challenges, geopolitics, wars. We need to build a business that can weather everything and be able to constantly challenge ourselves, to be able to do better, to build new models, new concepts. We hope to continue to grow those seeds, nurture them, and be able to bloom as we go along with every generation of leaders to come.
I'd like to congratulate the Ascott colleague in achieving this 40 years milestone. I believe the bold decision that our various leaders have made in the last 40 years really have enabled Ascott to achieve tremendous growth into a leading vertically integrated lodging operator today. From a humble single property in Singapore 40 years ago, now we are a global hospitality company, and lodging management now is one of our key growth pillars within CapitaLand Investment. Charting new frontiers with bold decision is tough amid uncertainties. It takes a lot of courage, and sometimes you need to take a leap of faith. Ascott today is the result of many extraordinary decisions made by ordinary people who dare to think big and take risk. I think the foundation is laid by our past leaders that enable our achievement today, creating more opportunities for us to grow now individually and as an organization. Just be very unlimited in your ambitions and set high benchmark and be very bold. Just remember, the future of Ascott depends really on all of you. Our next generation of leaders to take the company to the next level and a much higher level.